So welcome everyone. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes.
And welcome to the Franklin Park Civic Association for 2022. It is good to see many of you whom I've not seen for a while. I won't do the corny joke, it's too late in the month for that. But I am appreciative that you are here. I think we've got a lot to look forward to. We are not having our mingle, as you well know, due to all these external circumstances. So this stands as our annual meeting. And we want to do something different just in terms of getting a handle on where we are, people's interests, and some of the things that we are interested in doing moving forward. So having said that, let us just pick up with our minutes and our treasurer's report, and then we'll go into a dialogue in terms of some of our past accomplishments and the road forward. So in terms of the minutes, I believe the minutes were posted. Is that correct, Brian?
Yes. So I put the agenda, copied and pasted the agenda into the chat as a reference.
Okay. Does anyone have any comments on them? Can we stick on minutes, please? Does anyone have any questions on the minutes? Can we motion to adopt the minutes?
I move to adopt the minutes.
Second.
Okay, any objections? Any, oh, people, I'm not really, okay. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions?
Hmm.
Okay, then it's been adopted. Treasurer's report, please.
We haven't had any expenses year to date. However, we have had some new members sign up, and someone brought us a sweatshirt today. So the balance comes to $5,987.28.
All right, and how many were those were actual memberships?
I believe there were 5 members that have signed up, 5 or 6.
Okay, and
I'll have
were
a
they
report.
new people or recurring?
Nah, they're just renewals so far.
Okay, that's great. All right. All right, so we'll adopt the treasurer's report for audit. In terms of our discussions for the activities, I'm sorry that I've not been able to get this on the computer, so the phone is moving around. In terms of our activities, we wanted to really focus on we wanted to focus on the high points and look at it holistically, and try and get some lessons or areas of interest from the particular reports. So we have 4, we have activities, we've got the public and member relations, we've got health and wellness, and we've got development and improvement. So we want each one just to take a few minutes and give us a brief synopsis and overview of their activities for 2021 with some highlights, 2 or 3 highlights for each area. So in terms of activities, who'd like to kick that off? Is that Tamika?
It's me.
Do you wanna?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, give me a second. I'm gonna share my screen. Will, can you let me share my screen? Sorry, it's disabled right now.
Yes, I can. Just 1 second.
Thank you.
Yes. All right.
Sweet. All right. Sorry, give me a second, guys. And
Nice.
See my screen. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
All right, so we just wanted to quickly walk you through what the Activity and Events Committee has done this year. So we have had 6 monthly walks. So we ran those the entire summer. It was the first Saturday of every month. Obviously, that adjusted lightly as holidays hit the first Saturdays a couple times. So we adjusted that. But we did have also our first Fridays, which we had 4 passion projects that our neighbors discussed the first Friday of every month. We did those for 4 months. We've obviously 12 monthly meetings, which you are on one of those right now. We had 2 separate types of third Thursday events. We did 3 treat truck nights in the summer. We had 2 good eats out at the park twice and one time. And then we started doing some neighborhood networking events at Adela's. We did 2 of those as well. And then we had our shred event in November where we partnered with AARP, I believe, and were able to shred over 50 households worth of private information, et cetera, tax documents. And we were able to partner with AARP to bring the truck out and have that done in November. And then our holiday mingle, which we did last February. So obviously, as Julia Lynn discussed, that is currently postponed. We are thinking perhaps of doing some kind of mingle in the spring/early summer, but that is to be determined. And that's kind of part of the conversation we wanted to have, was just outlining where we feel like we need to continue putting our time and energy, what people are interested in, and what is worth keeping or scrapping. So I'll kind of leave it up from there. And if Tamika and Miriam have anything that they would like to include, please feel free.
Looks good, Kirsten, thanks.
Yeah, great job.
Yes, thank you very much, committee. That was very clear. And I hope that we're going to hold this. If there are any points of clarification, does any of the members have any questions regarding sort of the content of these activities, and not whether or not we should do it in 2022? We'll hold that discussion for later. But any points of clarification for the committee? Okay, thank you very much. So do think about these things as we continue to have our discussion, and then think about which of these, if any, we should continue for 2022. So public and member relations. No report. Okay.
I would have to say one thing that one big thing that happened in 2021 around member relations and our marketing is the updated website. That was a huge,
Yes.
huge project that was done by a collaboration between different members. I know Mick, Megan, and Nick. So thank you for your help in that, and others, if I missed anyone.
Yes, I was definitely going to bring that up at some point in the meeting. The website and the Facebook page. I don't know about Twitter, but we really upped our game in terms of social media. You know, there's some other things to change, but no, definitely. Thank you. Kim, you had a question?
I would like to address branding. You know, as I spoke to Will about this, when you go into the Kroger at Nelson, which is actually in our district, they have stuff about the conservatory, they have stuff about Bexley, but nothing about Franklin Park. Additionally, on the websites with the city, they mention Old Town East, but they do not mention Franklin Park. So, I mean, we really, I feel like we need to direct some energy into these arenas because we're just not getting the recognition.
Okay, we'll include that as part of the discussion for 22. Kim?
Yes.
Okay, we'll hold that for discussion for 22. Okay, I've
Okay.
noted it. All right, health, well, you can keep the floor then and do health and wellness, health,
Okay.
safety and wellness.
Well, I'm sorry that I missed the meeting with Central Community House because I think some of the events that I attended over the summer and fall were very, very important. They had dinners, music events, and stuff like that. I think that's important. I have contacted the health department to see if we can have a point of contact for the distribution of the COVID test. It seems like they're all wanting us to do it online, but I think that we should have some availability here within the community other than the library because they keep running out. I was also wondering what everybody thinks about
Kim,
yes.
remember this part is a summation of 21. Please
Okay.
share with us the specific things your committee did in 21, and then we'll talk about the things we're going to do in the second half.
Okay, in 2021, we did get a couple grants for the Linwood Garden, which I would like to grow on. And other than that, you know, we're looking for more ways to interact with the community.
Okay.
And
All
I
right.
can use some
All
help.
right. Thank you. Okay, everybody. All right. You can lower your hand now. And the development. We have a report from development.
Yes, ma'am.
What you got to share with us?
Ma'am, ready?
Go ahead.
So last year, well, I would say over the course of the year, we tried to arrange a series of speakers that
the state's largest hospitals is full.
Linda? Okay, thank you. Arranged a series of speakers that spoke to various development issues throughout the community. And we were fortunate to be able to capture that in our Zoom meetings, which are posted on our YouTube, what's called a YouTube channel. So if anybody missed somebody from the county or from the ModCon rehab facility, all those meetings and presentations were there. We also had a series of discussions with the developers of the trolley barn, and that resulted in two presentations by them to our group. One, the director of the East Market, and the other was a tour for board members of the East Market and Trolley District site. As everybody knows, for obvious reasons, they're behind schedule on the overall project, but we got a good sense of what was close to being completed. And we also received assurance that they would want to continue more regular communication with our group. One kind of small victory, and I don't have any samples to show, is I think we were successful in getting them and members of the media to refer to the Trolley District as a project that was in the Franklin Park neighborhood. You know, it was not in Old Town East, it was not in Bexley, it was not just in the near side, but it was in the Franklin Park neighborhood. So in terms of establishing our brand, as Kim talked about, I think that was very helpful. And I think other people are catching on. If you read any of the newspaper accounts, when they mention the Trolley District, they say in Franklin Park neighborhood. We also work with the Near East Area Commission on area elections, but to me, very importantly, what is called an Urban Infrastructure Recovery Fund that we hope to receive funding for to do projects that were identified by, members of this group. That included crosswalks, that included street signage, that included community art projects, accessible walkways, and that type of thing. I just finally heard back from Jesus Tavallier, who's our city liaison, and he indicated that despite having reached out to the department that has those funds, they have not given him any update on when they will advise him or anybody else on the Near East Side what money they have for projects that we would like to see. So, if you were in the military, you're familiar with hurry up and wait. So I'm sure when they do make up their mind to make those funds available, they'll say, we need something by next week, which is kind of what they did with the proposals. We need
Right.
proposals.
Well, we'll be ready.
Yeah, we'll be ready. So to me, those are highlights. See if Roy or anybody else has any other highlights that they would like to add. Well, maybe while Roy's getting unmuted, part of the development project is it was stated early on that the association wanted to move from being a 501c4 to a 501c3. And in researching that process with Roy and Brian, there are a number of things that we need to do collectively. And one of the major things we did was to rewrite the bylaws, which was adopted and signed by our president and secretary at our November meeting. So a large part of the input that we received today will be part of what IRS requires, which is a plan of programming for the upcoming year. And you'll somebody sign on, sorry. So hopefully, feel free to speak up or enter your suggestions in the chat so that we can capture that and take advantage as we do our strategic plan for 2022.
That's it. Okay, good. Thank you very much, Will and Co. Now, I didn't get on to get this straight. Are we still passing out the award for the of the lights? Or did you pass that on already? Muted.
The screen said, hey, pick your mute up. We have not. So we did have a holiday decorating contest this past year, as we did the year before. Unfortunately, we didn't have as many entries as we wanted, but we did have one entry that was a winner. Brian, do you remember the name of the household? Mr. Curtis?
Yeah, I think Davis on Kendall.
On Kindle. So we have one household that did a very fine job of, getting up on the second floor, the rafters, and putting out lights, and they did more than put a candy cane on the door. And so that is part of the kind of atmosphere we want to stimulate as part of our neighborhood. And so we are going to reward them for their efforts with a $50 gift certificate to our favorite neighborhood restaurant, Adela's on Oak Street. Let's hear it for our winner. All right, all right. You two could have won, but too bad, too late. Contest is over for this past year. But
Okay.
we'll
there was a question for Miriam.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There was a question from Miriam on the difference between 03 and 04 in the tax code.
The answer is yes.
Are they different?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But the main thing.
Yes,
yeah.
I thought you were referring to the years. I'm sorry. Yes. So 04 is for civic organizations that are nonprofit corporations, which we are under the laws of the state of Ohio, but they do not have IRS tax exemption, so that any donations to them, any expenditures that are made have to conform to the 504 part of the tax code and are not exempt under 03. And from a programmatic standpoint, one of the things we'll be talking about is leveraging challenge grants or donations from like Columbus Foundation. You cannot get past the door unless you are a 501c3 organization.
The key distinction is the tax deductibility of donations.
Right.
You can make donations to a C4, but C4 is lobbying and such, and they aren't exempt to the donor. So that's the key thing. If we become a C3, people could make tax deductible donations to us.
Thank you, Roy.
I have clarification. Is it now at a 4 instead of 3 at this point?
We are in
Today.
between. We are in between.
Lapsed.
Yes.
We lapsed. That was part of the issue. So, and so this is a very good, Miriam, thank you very much for your question, because that really leads us now into this discussion, because it does want us we are ready to refile, and we simply need to say, we can say generically what we are about and what we're going to do, but we also need to be clear for ourselves so that people really begin to participate. We're doing things that are in the interest of the community. But broadly speaking, and I'm going to run through this fairly quickly, we say we really focus on a celebration, nurturing, and developing our community. Celebrating, nurturing, and developing. And how do we do that? Well, first, of course, we absolutely want to promote our diversity. We want to show the range of cultures and communities that are within, our boundaries. And to do that, we want to make sure that as many people as possible participate. And so, if we aren't reaching people, we need to know how better to reach people. Once we reach them, we need to have a product that excites people, that gets them excited, that recognizes that they're being celebrated, in all their diversity. We want to make sure, as is well mentioned, we've got a number of different topics. Usually every monthly meeting, we have some topic of interest, but we want to encourage an information flow in a lot of different ways. So we had the monthly meetings, and we had what we thought was a speaker on a topic that was of clear interest to a broad segment of the community. But we also had First Fridays, where we had what we call passion projects. And Kirsten said, when people had something they were really interested in, we wanted to have an informal environment where people could just have a discussion, and people could learn that their neighbors had interest beyond, their 9-to-5 job. And so we wanted to make sure also that people had an informal context in which to talk around the first Thursdays, or the Thursday treats. But we really wanted to just create environments where different kinds of dialogues could occur. And we could talk about, we wanted them to be more successful than they were, but we can talk about what happened and why. And in order to do that, we need your input. We really need people to step up and say, I didn't know about it, I had no idea you were doing it, or I came by and it didn't look like much fun, or I kept going, or I came in, but it really wasn't what I thought it was, or whatever. But we really need to know from you tonight on the front end what it is that you want to do, so that we are respectful of your interests, and our time and efforts and resources, really aren't wasted. As some of the people mentioned, part of this process, Kim talked about Central Community House. It is about collaboration. I think that one of the strengths coming out of this past year has been recognizing all of the community gardens and understanding that, yes, we have Franklin Park and the Conservatory and Gilhooly's Glass and all that happening over there, but we also need green spaces that are right next door or right across the street. And I don't have to walk 3 or 4 blocks if I'm really not capable of doing that. Somewhere, again, where I can sit and have a discussion with my neighbors that is very informal, where I can just sit, and enjoy the environment. So it's really very important that, we work together as a team in order to do that. So we were able to pull together the 10 community gardens within the Civics Association boundary. We encouraged them to provide information on who they were and what they did and how they wanted to do it. And then as a part of that process, we were able to provide $100 grants to the communities to jumpstart them. We were able to identify organizations outside of the association boundaries who came in as teams and played a role in developing the groups. We were able to get other organizations to donate funds to some of the gardens to further assist them. And so we know we can't do everything that needs to be done relying solely on our resources within our boundaries. And so we, and Kim mentioned the Central Community House, and I know I saw Richard and Joyce are on the call, and you wait till you see what these kids have done, because we've reached out and it was just a whim, and now Central Community House has stepped forward. The youth, I mean, we met with about 20 youth and they were hot to trot. I mean, they're just incredible. And yes, we're going to do what we, agreed to do initially, but each of us also saw ways in which they could be involved other ways. And so we're really excited about, building on this initial engagement with Central Community House. We also recognize that even though it's very small, we do have a business community. We do have people who are making an effort to meet a need within the community by pulling their resources together and making them available in the context of their business. And certainly the one that we have supported a lot has been Ardella's, the restaurant there at Oak and Miller. And certainly there will be support of the Trolley Barn. Will mentioned, there was the visit. But there are other businesses in our community as well, just a handful, just a few, but we want to be able to nurture them. And also, Kim mentioned that we have not, and I'm as guilty as anyone else, we have not been as deliberate in pulling in. It's the Nelson, it's the Nelson Road to Nelson Creek. That's really what it is. But our boundary does not stop at Nelson Road. It stops at Nelson Creek. And the creek is actually to the east side of Kroger. That's the bridge. So we really should include everything on the businesses on Nelson between, everything on Nelson from Brighton to Main Street over to to Nelson Creek. And that would include Kroger. So yes, there is a revisiting of, because there's always, the only business is a conservatory, then it was, the only business is the district, the Trolley Barn. Well, no, we actually have our strip there on Nelson, and we do have to go and start to see how we can pull people in. And it is about usage and how do we do that in a way that makes sense. And at the bottom line, in many ways, whatever we do, we want to make sure that we are promoting you, the community. We want to make sure that the kinds of things that we're talking about now, the ways in which we're pulling these ideas together, really reflect what you see as this Franklin Park community and us as your representatives as a Franklin Park Civic Association. So I really would like us now to spend a few minutes and just really begin to talk about, in broad terms if you like, but if there's some very specific things, if we start with, and we've got the 4 areas, the activities, health and wellness, publications and member relations, development and improvement. If we look at those 4 areas generally, and we start with activities, what are the kinds of things that you think would be most successful? This may be something that the Civic Association did years ago. It may be something that another association is doing. It may be something that you just think is a good idea. But we really, and again, we recognize that we're constrained by COVID. I'm very frustrated right now in terms of even, having this discussion. But, that is a constraint. And the reality is that the in-person activities are not going to be the same as they were. And I think just as a whole, we have to take that into account. And I'm not quite sure what that means in terms of, really what it looks like, but the kinds of, very casual interchange or wherever we plan, we just assume we're just all going to be standing around, No, I think that we have to be very cautious, very deliberate in the kinds of in-person activities that we plan, recognizing that people are now structuring their lives in a very different way than existed before. All right, so I'm going to stop there, and I would like to open the floor. And if we could take a few minutes and just look at the first area in terms of, Kirsten's report, in terms of activities. And I said, yes, we want to look at different kinds of layers, different kinds of activities. but there are all ways in which we can bring people together so that we can learn about each other, we can share, we can celebrate each other. But what should that look like in 2022?
Dreeland, I have a quick poll that covers the areas I think that Kirsten covered. It takes 60 seconds for everybody to fill out, and then that'll kind of give us a written record of where people feel, and you don't have to identify the lunch.
Oh, great. Thank you. Yes, he did tell me he had the poll. Yes, this is a good way to make that
Okay, here we go.
transition.
I'm sorry.
It's-
And you may remember doing this kind of poll. Can you see it?
yes,
Okay. So
It
if
works.
everybody would,
I ticked it off.
it's multiple choice, and the activities are the same on question 1, question 2. 1 is what were you able to participate in, and 2, what would you like to see continued or expanded in 2022 as a baseline?
Yeah, I can't fill out the wall.
What'd you say, Brian?
he's on his phone.
I can't fill out the wall
Um,
because I'm the host.
Yeah, if they're on the phone, you can't do it.
Oh,
No,
I see.
I'm
Okay,
the host.
that's fine.
I'm the host, so I can't do it.
Okay.
Okay, the other terms in terms of the okay, we'll look at it differently though.
All right. So you can see the results there, and I'm surprised Zoom meetings got votes, but you guys are on Zoom, so you got.
Yeah, I mean what
I'm not seeing the results, but I did fill out the survey.
Miriam, go to polls at the bottom, and if you click it, it'll pop up and show everything to you in real time.
Is anybody else?
It's, I don't have that on my Zoom for some reason. Is it? I can look at it later. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to share this with people who weren't able to join us today. But I thought it would be kind of.
People who weren't able to complete the poll will be made chair of major activities.
Some of us don't know what some of the activities are. I mean, what is treat night? What is that? What is First Friday?
Treat night was when
you don't need to
treat
tell
night
me. I'm just saying I can't
Okay.
check that because I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's something that should be continued or not, because I don't know what it is.
Okay, that was discussed at the beginning. That was the first report from Kirsten.
Yeah, so treat night is where we had a vendor in the horseshoe of Franklin Park.
Okay, but no, we can go over it. Yeah, let's, do you have all the results in? Have they been tallied?
So that's all of them. So we have 15 now, 16, okay, 16 of 18. So there are only a couple of people that we didn't get to hear from.
Right. So we know, yeah, okay.
And those are the
first-
results.
There we go. Yeah, you can put it in the chat, Miriam. You do. All right. So
I see this one.
treat nights. No, shred event and treat nights. Zoom meetings. Well, ignore Zoom meetings. We got the okay. The walking club seems to have gotten the lowest participation. And we can talk about, when or why. Otherwise, that's pretty good representation. Even with the 20 people on the call, that means the 20 people on the call were pretty active in most things.
Can I comment on the walking club thing? It might have been, sorry, my family is talking, but it might be too, because that was the first summer that people were able to travel from COVID. And I wonder if there's just not a lot of people in the neighborhood to join for the walking club, because a lot of people were traveling over this past summer. And I wonder if that might have been an indication of why there were fewer people for the walking clubs.
I'm also wondering,
because people they went to the other activities. They did the shred, they did the third Thursdays,
Yeah, well, it was our only one that was truly on the weekend, I think might be Miriam's point.
Okay.
Were
All right.
weekdays when people are around. But my question with that is, I personally felt like the way, and I mean, I'm the one that ran it, so this is on me. We relied really heavily on Facebook to get that information out, and we really could use some input on how people would like to be told about these events, because not everybody uses Facebook, not everybody uses social media. How do we get this information to you in a timely manner? And I know that we obviously include all of these in our emails after all of our meetings, but is that too much information at one time? Do you want a calendar? We have talked about doing some type of calendar. Again, that does play heavily into social media, but it can be emailed to people. We can put it on our website, etc. So if you have a preference, please just throw it in the chats. And I did want to call out, she might have popped off, but let's see, it was Kelly said that she was able to visit with some neighbors with porch visits to be able to keep distance. And the number one request was to get together in an outdoor setting with food because they don't know other people, but it would be a great way to get involved. And that is a lot of the motivation behind the mingle. And so maybe we can use that kind of as a catalyst for something this summer, is how do we just get everybody out and maybe do a picnic somewhere and get neighbors out so everyone can chat and be a little distanced.
Good.
Thoughts on that? I really appreciate Kelly putting that in the comments. So if you don't want to talk, but you want to give us a point, please put it in the comments.
Okay, thank you. And yes, please, this issue of communication is key and will come up again. All right, now in terms of what do you want to do in 2022? Okay, is it
Yeah, so
First
these are some of the
Friday? Now
ideas
it's
that we've
interesting.
gotten.
First Friday got 56. Okay, Will,
Yes.
hold on, please. What are people seeing on their screen?
So this is a list of, you know,
Will, hold on, please. Miriam, what are you seeing on your screen?
I see what to do in 2022. List of, let me move my chat box, list of suggested topics. So I see his Word document.
Okay.
So on this document, I can write down any suggestions that.
All right. So now you see
people
everybody
might-
sees the same thing. It's clear. All right, go ahead, Will.
So Kirsten, one suggestion you said somebody just put in the chat was having like porch visits.
Mick put that in as a suggestion, which we have talked about doing, and I think is an excellent idea. So picking, that was more like block porch visits, basically. We can take that and run with it however we want to. And the other idea is more like a picnic in the park.
Picnic in the park.
Yep. Ooh, spring seed swap. That's an excellent idea, Miriam.
All right.
I'd be down.
Can we go around the horn and have each person maybe give their suggestion?
Hey, guys, I also wanted to, realizing that we have to be very careful with in-person events, how those are handled, especially right now in the winter. But I do want to use a little bit of caution by doing too many virtual events. I know I'm in charge of a couple of other groups, and we've seen significant drop off in participation. People have virtual burnout. So, you know, keeping that in mind as we're looking to plan, it may be better to pare down some virtual events and really kind of make them the best they can be than an onslaught of virtual content, because we are probably not going to see a great return on that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I was told yesterday that one of the networking workshops I've regularly attended on and off is stopping next Monday because their board said the same thing that Jay mentioned, Zoom overload. And when we, as a board, meant to postpone the mingle, that was the number one reason why we did not move to virtual, is because people are on Zoom overload and Zoom fatigue. In these last 2 years of not being able to go out face to face and things are not going to be the same again.
Right. Can you see item number 11 on the list?
Okay, hold on, please. Mick and Megan have their hand up.
Yeah, one of the things that we were thinking about the porch parties, just to get a little bit more clarity on that, I think kind of solves a number of problems. Julia Lynn, to your point earlier, things, we never know what's going to happen with COVID. Things are not going to be back to normal. And if we try and do one big in-person event, maybe that's when the next variant comes out and there's all kinds of pivoting that surrounds that. But if we could get something that's regular, that doesn't really require that much investment, it's just a little bit of coordination with communication in the sense that, like, okay, for March, like our portion, the fair would have, people are all just going to have a porch thing where you just kind of sit outside. People can walk, they can distance. You can stop by with the, I won't say this out loud, but like a cocktail and a to-go cup or something, and just kind of say hi and wave to your neighbors. And that way, if let's say a variant hits in April, maybe we can quickly communicate that we're not doing, the porch party for that month. But if we kind of get a schedule for a year-long thing, then I think that just takes like less work. It beats the Zoom fatigue. And it just seems like something we could kind of get into a regular routine with, just a little bit of coordination on the front end.
Right. Okay,
Going up,
good, thank you.
Adding to that comment, I think we can also get maybe like a yard sign or two that we could give to the neighbors who are hosting the, like the porch hop, so that if there are neighbors on the street who are not comfortable with having people over, it will be indicated. So you'll know which houses to go to.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay, so good warm weather idea. Any other response to the list of suggested topics?
I'm a firm believer in block parties. And I say that because years ago, this neighborhood was organized in terms of block captains who would walk the block and put out flyers for meetings or events, who knew all the neighbors on the street just about. When something came up, we had a call, contacts, we call and then ask that person to call 2 other neighbors. And it was like a chain that kept the communication lines open in the neighborhood and helped people get to know one another outside of the monthly meetings we would have. I think that it's entirely within the doable for us to find 2 to 4 block sponsors for each block, for them to coordinate together and set up the block party for their block and agree that they're going to knock on how many doors and maybe a flyer or invite. Somebody put up some music, somebody put up a tent, somebody has drinks at one end of the block and snacks at the other end of the block and something in the middle, and some games for the kids to, you can actually close off your block. Right. And with permission of the neighbors, they can block that off so there's no traffic coming down the street. Clear the center of the street for kids to have some kind of physical activity and get to know each other and play together. I think that would be very helpful. And in the process, we can sign up each individual neighbor to be a member of the civic association.
You're gonna pay the $10
and the garden groups.
Yeah, right. No,
and we can make it a competition too. One block versus a block. How many people can you get signed up on your block?
Right.
We've got 75% participation over here, and make it a contest for the summer for this year.
Yes.
How big can your block participation be?
Right. No, thank you, Joyce. We really have a lot of it was interesting, different memories of responses to that idea. And it kind of leads over into the health and wellness, because also the block captains can serve a safety function
Yes.
And I know I've gotten different, one of the things, at some point we have to talk about these Airbnbs, but it's important to have someone who really is aware of what's happening on the block and, some of the issues. And it's in terms of some of our elderly members, it's important for people to know that, whether or not somebody has been seen for a couple of days or, their healthcare workers have been in or whatever. But I also like the idea of kind of building it up. We know this is also kind of a weather issue. So as it gets warm, think about having different streets having these, what was the first thing was the porch visits. So we have different streets having the porch visits, and we build those up into block parties and then build that up into a competition. So then maybe, yes, by August, we could see how many blocks have participated, whether through the porch visits or the block captains and block parties or what have you. But again, we're going to need some people to coordinate. Other ideas, suggestions? Other ideas or suggestions? Activities?
This is Miriam. I just wanted to add to the building up portion. Because we all are very nervous about COVID, maybe we could do hot chocolate on the porch during the cold months. And that might lead to then the warmer months of a cocktail or a lemonade, and then leads to because I think we have a lot of great ideas for warmer weather things. But one of the things that the activities group talked about is having a book club too. So I think there should be some things to start maybe enticing people while the months are cold. And also a little isolating. This might be a way for us to get together and just step outside all bundled up and share some hot chocolate on the porch, and maybe discuss a book club outside. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, no. You put the sign out, I'll come by.
Well, yeah, I know everybody on our block, so that's not a problem.
Okay. Can we get one or two other suggestions for activities, and then we're going to move on? Okay, keep thinking, and remember, we're going to pare this down, but we also have to have people who are going to be responsible. And and it's not about being on a committee or you weren't. It's if you're interested now, it's full steam ahead. Now, in terms of public relations and membership, one of the things I really want to put on the table has come up in the discussion so far, but I really want us to focus on, and that's this question of communicating with our members. How do we do it? And right now, as with we talked about the COVID, the Zoom, we really are looking at a virtual connection. And I know, my mother for one fusses, she fussed tonight, because there's no newsletter, and she wants to see a printed document, even if it's a 1-page 8x11 sheet that has information about the Civic Association. We know that others prefer Facebook, others prefer somebody said earlier, what was it? Somebody said send out something every day or every other day. I would be annoyed if I saw that in my inbox, something from FPCA every other day. I'm like, y'all not doing that much. Come on. But we do need to think about how do we most effectively. We actually have cell numbers for folk. I don't believe we use texting as a message. So is that something that we can, is that effective for folk? But I really, we have to, and again, maybe there's some practice with other organizations that people know of that would like to bring to bear on this discussion. Kirsten and Jay, is your hand raised? Go right ahead.
So just real quick, wanted to say, I think block captains is like an awesome idea. And just in terms of kind of forcing you to kind of go outside your comfort zone a little bit and grab the people that you maybe don't do more than just kind of wave at. But aside from that, talking about block parties, I did just look up information from the city. And if you wanted to do like a full blown actual like block party official shut down the street, It's $75 and a 30-day notice application to the city. It's pretty easy. I don't think that would fly for like Oak or Bryden or some of the cross streets. Like I don't think we're going to be able to shut down some of the major thoroughfares, but some of the side streets, that might be an option that we could always look into as well for just providing a little bit of extra space if that's needed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now remember we're on membership and public relations. How do we communicate what we're doing better with the public so we can get more support? But even more, how do we communicate with our own members? How do we make sure that our current membership and those who are most likely to be members actively participate? Ideas, suggestions?
Well, weren't you making a flyer with Linda, and you made a flyer, and it was beautiful.
Well, also we have the yard signs. Do people find the yard signs effective?
As long as the print is bigger. We realized the print was too small and too light in color.
And we have openings for people who want to make new posters and put them up and take them down.
Yeah, that's true.
We have plenty of vacancies in that department.
Another way you might want to communicate is make refrigerator magnets. That's everybody's personal bulletin board in their kitchen, usually the favorite room in the house. If you have an established calendar, you can do that.
And speaking of calendars, Nick, where's our calendar? Nick?
Yep, sorry, muted. I just talked to Will about that today. So
okay.
we'll get that created.
Yeah, because normally we have a calendar every year. And when we did talk about making that calendar a magnet, Joyce, we definitely talked about fridge magnets, and there was a, we were divided 50-50 as to their effectiveness. So to hear you speak up for it, a couple of people were chuckling just now. So yes, fridge magnets have definitely been on the list. And we were looking at maybe turning the card with our calendar into a fridge magnet, because then people could see the dates of the meetings clearly and at least have that. Other ideas or suggestions?
When Nick and I talked about the calendar, one of the questions we realized we need to pose is about what dates go on there. So our bylaws say that we'll meet every month except for December, unless there's a vote by the membership. This year, our meeting date will fall on the 27th of December, which is 2 days after Christmas and the following week.
No, it's not. It's the 13th. 13th.
Christmas?
No, December meeting's the 13th.
Okay, well, it's still not.
We're not at the last meeting, so.
So yeah. Are you saying that's different than the third Thursday?
It's the second Tuesday because of Christmas.
It's the second Tuesday
of December.
The third Tuesday.
The second.
Third Tuesday is the 20th.
Yeah, it's the third Tuesday.
So which one do we want to put on the calendar? The 20th or the 13th is the question.
Oh, well, I think we can do this separately, but okay.
Yeah. It depends on like how COVID is and who's going to be in town on the 20th.
And that's the general sense. Do people feel that they would want to participate in a meeting in December? With all the stuff that people typically have going on.
I believe we met this December and our attendance is pretty low. So I would say no.
You don't have to. I mean, unless we're doing the mingle next year. The only reason why we had the December meeting was because we were planning the mingle.
Good point. Good point.
Right.
If we're gonna have it, I would say earlier in the month is probably.
Yeah, I'd say the 13th.
Yeah.
Let's say December 13th, and then we can cancel it if necessary. as
Okay.
appropriate. Okay.
Got it.
All
Got it.
right. Okay, if there are no other suggestions on communication, we will look closely into fridge magnets because that was just getting a vote all over the board. Kim, was your hand up on this topic?
Well, I love all these ideas and they're great, but they cost money. So we need ideas for fundraising because our coffers are going to have to be filled to put out flyers and refrigerator magnets. I mean, I participated in a newsletter. Well, this is dated over 20 years ago, and it was a very arduous task that needed dozens of people and funding. So I think that the suggestions are beautiful and wonderful, but I'm concerned about how we fund them. I guess it's just.
Well, yeah, given our continued support of Adela's, I think we might we could cost out the newsletter and say, hey, we're turnabout's fair play. We're just changing money from one pocket to another. But yes, we can look at some business sponsorship and see what that might mean. And that's a point well taken.
There are some other ways to raise money. You're in my wheelhouse now, but not if it's a 04.
No, it'll be 03.
Yeah, it has to be deductible for sure.
So what are some, just a few random ideas, Ernestine?
I've had luck with Ohio Humanities. There is always AARP if it's structured correctly. And sometimes it's a matter of getting an organization, and I'm going to use AARP again as an example, to just say, will you print it for us each month? They're not giving you money, they're assuming the responsibility. So there are a number of ways that we can get support as long as it's clearly identified and we are consistent in it and get that commitment.
I wasn't trying to be difficult. I'm just trying to be realistic.
No.
Right.
I think you're
right. No, it's true. We haven't because Flamingo has been a source of income, and we had a poor one last year and none this year. So it's really an issue. That's been our source of income, and we haven't had. So it's absolutely a point well taken. Okay.
I mean, we used to do the pumpkin sale and all that kind of stuff. We need to think about, and that was also such a great community event too. People from all over the neighborhood came to that. So I guess what I'm saying is we need to think of outdoor events where people feel safe coming, that we can create a funding stream.
Okay. Well, I think we can pull the public relations and membership to a close and move to health and wellness. This is your area, Kim, and so you can keep the floor. Some of the things I asked you to put a pin in earlier, we can revisit them now. What are the kinds of things that you would propose? And then we'll see what other people propose that we do within health and wellness for 22.
Okay, well, I have several thoughts. One being, again, the Central Community House, because I think that music events and outdoor events where, I went to a couple where they had dinners that were delivered by other restaurants and food trucks from around the city. And it was a beautiful, beautiful event. A. B, I was wondering what we should do about our community gardens and fundraising. Again, fundraising is like a key issue here. I mean, it's all good. I mean, I got a letter with a check for the Linwood garden. It was $59. That's not even a flat of vegetables. So we have to be realistic about our expectations and what we can do for the community if we're not doing massive fundraising. So I was wondering, should we try to do fundraising for the community gardens as a collective, or should we do it independent, each garden be independent? That being a question I thought was relative. Should we or is that too hard? Is it too hard to do things
No, what
collectively?
we're doing now, we're brainstorming. So we can put that down. Okay, we've got a fundraising activity, so we can put down whether or not we do it for all 10 at once, or, you know, people just go out on their own. Are there other suggestions or comments in terms of health and wellness?
Yes, I'm very concerned also about the fact that there's been 2 stabbings on Oak Street. And no one's caught anybody. And it seems to be focused on people that are walking their dogs.
Wow.
So how can we get a voice with our police liaisons? Because it seems like Terry Kalis is semi-retired. And that's the only person I've interacted with since I've been in the community. So I feel like we need to really reach out. And plus, since in the last year, there were 7 cars totaled in front of my house. On Oak Street 2 months ago, there were 8 cars totaled in one night. So this is a serious health and wellness issue.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if block watches might not be part of the answer.
Yeah, probably.
I mean,
Okay.
you know,
Well, let's see if what responses there are from others.
Okay, great.
I have a couple of suggestions, and again, I'm going to use the word AARP. Sorry about that. But we do presentations called Home Fit that really help families look at their home and prepare it in such a way that regardless of the age of the person, your home is fit for you as you age. So we could do presentations like that. We do fraud presentations. We do presentations on caregiving. You can even set them up, I think, I must say this cautiously, in such a way that people might feel might feel the desire to make a contribution to your organization because of their participation or presence at that presentation. So I have a list of about 20 that are in the health and welfare category, and we have trained people who will do them.
Good, thank you. Yeah, I think I've been to 1 or 2, yeah. All right, others?
Let me combine 2 ideas, and for clarification, let me first say, even though we're not a 501c3, because of Julia Lynn's improved relationship with Central Community House, they have agreed to be our financial sponsor, so that for any monies that we get that have to go through a 501c3, they will be the recipient, and then they will administer the funds to us. So one of the activities, and I saw the articles that Kim was talking about in terms of people walk the dogs, and there's a lot of people walk dogs, most of them just as individuals. So we had a couple of suggestions for what I would call a pooch parade. You know, you could get like the amphitheater there and people could dress the dogs up, but you could use that as an educational forum to help people who walk their dogs understand the important health and wellness aspects of walking a dog, but also the safety aspects of being out walking through the neighborhood with the dog, especially at night, that type of thing. And that would, I think, bring a whole new audience to our organization. I know a couple of people have dogs, but not a whole lot.
What about a dog walking meetup through that Franklin Park Civic Association, like, you know, posts or whatever, like the Saturday morning walks? We do like a Wednesday evening dog walk. We don't have a dog park here, so it might be a way to get, you know, some people interested.
Yeah, and I was kind of coming back to ways to get people to join, you know, so that, I mean, people are going to walk their dogs. They're not going to let them just stay at home. So part of the idea of bringing them together, I think, would be to help provide some educational information on personal safety and kind of park hygiene, so that we don't have the health and safety issues for either dogs or dog owners in Franklin Park, or the other park over on Oak Street by the school there.
Yeah,
That
at
sounds
one
great.
point. Okay, Brian? Is it? Okay, at one point, someone mentioned the pooch parade for Halloween and dressing them up in costumes. And I'm just thinking, rather than wait till October, we
Yeah.
might want to do an Easter parade for the
Yeah.
dogs and use that as an educational forum. And again, see if we can get some sponsors, do it as a fundraising, have them whatever, the categories, the best dress, the wackiest dress, the biggest dress, the smallest dress, I don't know. But, but it would come in the spring. And, as I said, and then, because as people come out and walk their dogs further and, use the parks, really make it an educational forum. And perhaps that's something that we could host at, the conservatory of Franklin Park and use the Wells Barn or something, as well. But again, it's the animals, it's fundraising, and it's educational. So what are those things that people need to know to be responsible dog walkers, dog owners?
And there are a lot of people who would want to, a lot of businesses who would want to have dog owners see signs about their businesses, okay? And so, like we talked about the different yard signs, I would venture to guess that there's at least 10, if not 20 businesses in this area who, just like if you go to a golf outing, they put their name on a sign at the first tee or the second tee, that type of thing. If you had that on your magic mile that the dogs walk on, I bet you there's a whole bunch of businesses up and down Main Street that will be willing to buy ad space.
Okay, well, since you are waxing so eloquently, please continue with development and
I got you. I got you.
To piggyback on your idea of the dog show, May Day is a rite of spring. And when we were kids, May Day was a big deal with the maypole dance, and it was our spring festival time.
Right.
So maybe we can bridge that together rather than connect it with a religious holiday, connect it with a rite of spring.
Right.
And getting out into the fresh air.
Rather than they're both religious holidays.
Yes, but you know what I'm saying.
Oh. Okay. Anything else? If there is anything else on health and wellness, let us please go to development. Because Will, you said you got me. Let's, can we give you 5 minutes and see if there are any ideas in terms of development? And Kim, I was surprised because we did a lot of energy at the beginning of 21 on 18th and Oak. And anybody who's been by there lately knows that it's a parking lot at this point.
Yeah.
It has been leveled absolutely to the ground. But I think at some point we do have to talk
I don't
about
know what else we can do.
okay, Kim, I just want to open the door for Will. All right, because there is a lot of development happening within the community, and we do need to talk about, what is our approach? Okay, Will, 2022.
So one of the things that I'm not sure if I posted on our Facebook page, but the city is having a hearing Thursday on community reinvestment tax abatement policy. And when you look at the community reinvestment area policy, there's a lot of city funds that kind of flow through that we should look into and see if they meet any of the public works needs that we have in our area. They don't do human service program and whatnot, but I would highly recommend that. So send me a note in the chat if you're interested in speaking. I'm going to try and get it together to make a brief presentation so that the city knows that our neighborhood is interested in participating in that discussion. And that's part of, I think, what our neighborhood organization does besides raise funds is to have our voice heard at different forums conducted by different levels of government about needs, issues, and problems in our area. let's see. Also, let's see, did I have, and personally, I'm hoping that in 2022, that we can have a sign campaign to identify any signs that need updating or where there's an absence of signs in our neighborhood, so that we can come together and send 20 requests a day to 311 until those signs get done. For example,
Okay, yeah.
as
Are
you
you
now
aware?
come out, as you now come out of the East Market, that parking lot, which didn't used to open onto Kelton, now has 3 exits. When you come out of those exits, there's no indication that that is a one-way street. That is a recipe for disaster. And so that is one of my top priorities, to write them, talk to them every week, to get them to put up one right turn only. This is a one-way street before somebody comes blasting out of there. Hopefully, you know, not under the influence, going south on Kelton, which is one-way north. Okay, and there are other corners like this too. People have talked about, you know, speeding and signs that are impaired and whatnot, but I'm hoping we can kind of go through the neighborhood and get signs updated, because the city seems to have money for signs. You see them pop up here and there, but if everybody, again, back on their block, identifies what block signs need to be upgraded or added, we're glad to work on that as well.
I know Miriam at some point sent me a note about the redistricting and where we're going to address it. And before we could address it, it was addressed. So that's now been,
Nice. Yay.
you know. But any other concerns, issues people want to bring to the attention of the development committee? Richard, are you on mute?
Yes, I'm unmuted. I'm just curious about the status and state of the amphitheater in Franklin Park. Is it still under the control of Parks and Recs? And how can we use our recreation center, if it is, for the community, particularly Franklin Park?
If let's say
two answers. So the amphitheater is rentable. I looked into renting it actually when we had the shred day, and all those spaces, even though they, you know, you have to go through a process to rent and use those, and so that's still available. I don't know if there's any service to it, like electric service or things like that. Now the building next to them, I know Billy Silver was on the call earlier, and he had to go put his kids to bed, he said, but he rented it out about a month ago for a community meeting, and it is under a division of the City Rec and Parks Department. So it's designed for people who are developmentally disabled, and they have all manner, if you go inside, they have all manner of devices and spaces to help people exercise and build their abilities in that space. But it can be used. He had it for a large community meeting. They had tables there. We had flip charts and all that kind of stuff. So it can be done. Does that answer what you're?
Yeah, because
is that the rec center?
Yes, I believe it begins to answer some of those questions.
So to that point, though, one of the two of the speakers we talked about having for next year is the director of that facility, so everybody's kind of clear on what does and doesn't happen there, and hopefully somebody from the trash collection department to understand what they've been doing. Because we tried to understand that. We tried to talk with them today, and it was not as clear as it could have been in terms of whose collection day is when and who's got a 300-gallon can and all that kind of can. So
tell me about it. They don't seem that they know my can.
Okay, we were Okay, if other discussions, questions, please shoot it to Will. Remember, we will continue to have speakers. Next month, we'll actually have one of our board members, Carol Hector Harris, and she'll be talking about her search for her own family's history and share some of that with us. So, but if other people who are interested in speaking, certainly from our membership, or if you know of someone, please shoot it over and we can take up that discussion. Are there any general questions or statements that anyone would like to make? And then we will hear from NEAC, and then, well, Roy, you can actually have that discussion right now, okay? I'll turn it over to you. Roy?
Sorry. So NEAC had its meeting in January. We had a ton of zonings to do. There is a zoning issue that is at the periphery of our area. But
Okay, I'm sorry. Will, take this down, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, exactly.
Go ahead, Roy.
Sure. There is a zoning issue at the periphery of our area. The site on Main Street next to what was Church's Chicken is proposed for a 50-unit affordable apartment project that the finance fund wants to do. Now, I know lots about that because that's the program I work in every day. It's a tax credit project they're working on to submit February 10th. It passed NEAC 6-5. It ended up being a rather controversial item. And for those of you who haven't seen anything about it, you might want to check that out. It is now scheduled to go to Columbus City Council on the 7th. I just learned today that council failed to, or the city failed to send out notices to adjacent neighbors on all of the tax credit projects that need these variances. And so they're not going to do it till the 7th. But they're planning to put 2 3-story apartment buildings on either side of the alley east of Churches. And it's fairly dense for what it is. It was a close vote. And it's affordable housing. I voted for it, just saying, because that's what I do for a living. It would have been really tough for me to vote against it. But still, it was maybe not the greatest place for a lot of children and stuff like that. Plus, there's almost no green space. So it's a tricky one. Other than that, there were no zonings in our part of the world here that seemed controversial. The other thing that NEAC did was we made some bylaw amendments, and the one that's important that I'd like to bring to your attention is that the at-large seats, there are 4 at-large seats on NEAC for human relations, business, religion, and education. The idea is that people who have connections to those fields would serve on an at-large basis and not be elected on a district basis. The change that's been made has those seats not being elected by the seated commissioners of NEAC, but rather by the whole Near East Area Commission citizenry. So that is something to keep in mind if anyone in Franklin Park wants to run for one of those seats. You're not going to be elected by the existing commissioners, but rather by everyone in the area. And so that's a fairly significant change to be made for somebody who might want to run. That's a real quick overview of what we did at our meeting. We put off electing officers. We thought we were going to do it in January, but we did not, in part because the change to the bylaws that changed the procedure under which officers are to be elected, that got done, and various people could not come to the meeting and did not necessarily know of that change. And so it seemed unfair to then move right ahead 5 minutes later to elect officers where people who might want to run but couldn't come to that meeting didn't know that they needed to prepare something saying they wanted to run so someone else could nominate them. Anyway, we put off the election of officers until the next meeting. That's a quick sum up of what we did.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Roy? And Eric is on too. Any comments, Eric?
Thank you. Yeah, Roy, that was great. I would just add the Community Engagement Committee. I understand that, COVID is putting a hold on events, but the Community Engagement Committee is ready to volunteer for your mingle or whatever event you'd like some help with when you're ready.
And I want to say that in December, they came down to Bethany and did a fantastic job. And actually 2 weeks, just did a fantastic job. So that's great. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions for NEAC, comments for NEAC representatives? Okay. In terms of Franklin Park, I do want to bring to your attention that next month begins our election process. Please check the website for the officers and the procedure, and if you're interested in going in running for a position, please familiarize yourselves with the rules and move forward. Jay has agreed to chair the committee. Will has stepped down, and we should have a very smooth process. We do expect to have a candidates night where people will be available to be grilled by you. How's that? Okay. All right. Now, where do we go from here? We got a laundry list of stuff. We'll go through it and come up with some, the top 10. But I really, really, really encourage you, each of you, to think about what is it that you can do to make sure that these ideas are a success. So it's really going to be very important that you step forward, and even if it's, I can only do once a month, that's fine. I can only host one porch visit, that's fine. Whatever it is that you volunteer to do will be more than what we have now, and will help to create and help us celebrate, our community. So please, we will, send something out. And then if you have another idea, please shoot it to me, shoot it to whoever, is relevant given the committees that were discussed tonight. Anything else? What I've forgotten, team? Anything else?
So the city's urban forestry master plan survey is going on, and that's going to be through next Friday the 4th. I'm going to include that in the bullet points. And there's going to be a hybrid meeting tomorrow night about the Link Us that's going down Main Street, hosted by the Bexley Library. So I'm going to put the library's link in the chat to register for the Zoom link. And there are no proposed coded changes for the Near East area in May, but they're bringing the Air Connect back on a special event basis. So it's not gonna be like every day, but it's only gonna be for like major downtown events, like think like the Arnold or like Red, White, and Boom. And then the community affairs person from the mayor's office, not Jesus, resigned. So they're gonna be hiring for that position. And so Chris Sewell from the mayor's office is the interim community affairs person from the mayor's office, community faith affairs liaison from the mayor's office. And then, and now I know what they're proposing on Main Street, because I saw the big sign in front of churches just last week. So which means I need to get out more. The snow is just
okay. Yeah.
Brian, do you know anything
Brian.
about the downtown revisioning hearing that I thought it was this week or next week?
It was right before our meeting.
Oh, okay.
And I was busy getting ready for our meeting, so I missed it.
Okay. All right. So
That
I
was
think they
virtual.
record those.
But I know that the Downtown Civic Association canceled their meeting this month. So
Huh. Well, the reason I bring it up, and this is definitely way long term, is as we get a new economic engine to the north, everybody knows who I'm talking about, we will probably want to begin to think about how that might impact our area, being a neighborhood that is close to both Interstate 70 and 670 and downtown.
Yeah.
Just saying.
All the above and more.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me say thank you very much for attending tonight. Appreciate everyone making time, and we didn't do a because I know everybody's gonna claim her, but I know I got Ernestine here tonight. So and we did see 2 or 3 other. Did we have the T-shirts? We were gonna give T-shirts to people who
Yes. Forgot to each one bring one. It was yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Billy was my guest.
Ernestine was mine.
Am I a guest?
Yeah, well, yeah, because you were there last time. I would pull you out of call. We were
And
reminded.
Linda was a guest.
Linda. Okay, don't worry. We'll try it again. All right. Thank you again.
But seriously,
Please,
real
everybody,
quick.
stay warm.
Yeah.
Stay warm. Stay warm. Stay away from COVID. I know it's hard, but do what we can. And because all that social distancing before, yes, still do it. But we know that there are all these breakthrough cases, and I heard of a new variant today or yesterday, and I was just like, this is the new normal. So let's just face it and figure out how we best deal with it. Okay. So again, I look forward to not only seeing you, but I look forward to working with you over the next, interim period, whatever that is. Okay. Yes, definitely check on your neighbors. Somebody swept my walk yesterday or Sunday, and then I got out yesterday and swept it. Then it snowed, but today I swept it again. So I just hope that but that's the way it is. But thank you, whoever swept my walk yesterday or the day before. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's the idea for the Good Neighbor program.
Right. Somebody did. Okay, maybe Jonathan, but I called him too. But anyway, all right. Good night. Stay well. It was great to see everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Neighbor and non-neighbor.
Love.